Welcome to the Waiting Warriors podcast. As loved ones of first responders and military personnel, we often face life situations and challenges that many others don't experience. And while each of us and our experiences are unique, together we can learn from one another and become stronger in this journey of life. Now let's step out of mediocrity. It's time to thrive. Hi guys, and welcome to today's episode of the Waiting Warriors. I am here hanging out with Brittany Zvirzdin, who I'm very excited for you guys to meet. She is a fun person. So welcome, Brittany.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Tell me about you and your family.
All right, so there's me, and then my husband's name is Ben, and we've been married for 4 years, and we have 2 cute little kids. So our oldest is Isla, and she is turning 3 this month. She's a little spitfire, bundle of joy. And then our second one, his name is Ivan, and he is 1 year old, and he just started walking this week. So we are on fire around here, and we live in Alaska. And yeah, what else do you want to know about our family?
Okay, so Ben is military, right?
He is, yeah. So he's in the Army, and he is currently stationed in Afghanistan. And so we're a little over halfway there for him coming home.
Oh, snap.
Oh, snap.
That halfway mark. It's all downhill from there, right?
Yeah, I sure hope so.
We can only hope. Okay. So obviously your guys' situation will be kind of different from other people that the podcast has heard from so far because Ben is deployed. But that's kind of why I wanted you to come on because I think that's the most important time to kind of focus on ourselves and our relationships with our families. And I kind of feel like that's the biggest time that everyone feels like they're drowning and just go into survival mode. And I really want to help people see that they can still thrive even though it's super difficult. So I'm curious, what do you and Ben specifically do for self-care?
All right. Well, deployment has been very different from all the rest of our military lives. And we've spent a lot of time apart, but it's only been for a few months at a time. And so when they're only gone for a month or a few weeks, I feel like we were just kind of in a survival mode and just counting down days. Whereas for deployment, we really had to gear up for long term. How are we going to stay happy long term? And how are we going to stay connected long term? And yeah. So we did a lot of preparation beforehand, and we talked a lot about it, and we took a few classes on how to stay connected. And so one of our biggest things, and I'll probably touch on this several times in the podcast, is we're just really big into setting goals. And we like to write them down, and we talk about them, and we go over them together. And so just the other day, we had a little date together, and we wrote down our goals, and we had a spiritual section and a physical section, mental, financial, and then family. And so we each have our things that we work on together, and then our things that we do individually to try to help keep us connected and growing together as a family. So
I love that.
So would you like to know some specific ones, or?
Well, I mean, you don't have to divulge your deepest, darkest secrets.
Well, no, and I wouldn't delve into that. But some of our favorite things that we've been able to do as a family to stay connected and to keep our relationship growing. And
yeah, lay it on.
All right. So I think one of our biggest ones has been taking time for each other. And so sometimes it's just messaging, and sometimes we get to have long, in-depth conversations and deep talks. But just like anything in life that's worthwhile, it takes time, and it doesn't come easily. And so we have to schedule our lives around each other, and we have to be flexible. And So that's been something that we work on, and sometimes is a challenge, but well worth it. And
Yeah.
we recently
real fast, what kind of challenges have you faced with that?
Well, one of the biggest things right now is the time difference. Makes it really tricky to coordinate when we can talk. And so sometimes he's just waking up and I'm trying to like get the kids bathed and fed and put in bed, or we're just waking up and he's going to bed, and our schedules do not line up quite as nicely as when they're home with us and we're on similar schedules.
Right.
So that's a tricky one. And then just long distance in general can be hard, because if it's not face to face, like one of us might be 100% into the conversation, and then one of us might only be 10% in the conversation, and that can cause some differences in what we get out of our time together. So just communicating and letting our needs be known, and being in touch with one another, and what he needs and what I need, and how we can better keep our communication.
Right. And I love that you guys do that through sharing with goals. I hadn't heard that before. Like I've heard a lot of communicate and all that, but I think that's a really awesome thing with communicating your goals. That just kind of cuts through all the fluff and lets each other know. You let each other know exactly what's going on and what's important, and you can really stay connected that way. That's awesome.
Yeah, I learned that from Ben. He's always been really good about that. Even when we were dating, he had this little journal and he was always writing down his goals, and he'd be like, okay, here's my 5-year plan. And so here's what I need to do today and this week and this month and this year so that I get there. And so it's been really powerful in our marriage, and especially while he's gone, so that we can stay on the same page together.
Yeah, I love that. Well, and I think that will help a lot with the reintegration. Oh my goodness. How do I say this word?
Reintegration, maybe?
I cannot
integrating together.
Recombining. Because I know a lot of people have a really hard time post-deployment, and I think it's a reasonable thing that's a struggle, because it's two people who are living separate lives. And I'm not saying that everything's going to be all peachy hunky-dory when Ben comes back, but I think you're not going to have as many troubles as a lot of things that I've heard, because you guys, it sounds like at least Ben knows exactly what you're working towards every day. And I mean, for goodness sakes, I think I even could do a better job of doing that, and my husband's home. But that's just, I really love that. But I think that is an awesome way to stay connected, especially while gone, because it's so easy to forget like the little things throughout the day. But if you guys know, the core of each person, that will help a lot.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been a very important part of our relationship.
Yeah. So what do you guys do to stay connected as a family? I know you guys, it's probably a lot trickier because of how young your kids are. I'm sure they notice that he is gone, but what do you guys do to keep the kids connected with Ben?
I think the biggest thing for the kids, since they're so young, is to get to see Daddy, to see his face. And so we do lots of messenger calls and lots of Skype sessions where they get to see Daddy. And my little 3-year-old girl just loves to carry him around with my phone and show him her toys. And she colors pictures and pretends like she can send them to him through the computer. And
oh, that's cute.
So just getting to have him there with us, even if he's just on the screen and we're playing with toys or we're making breakfast, but just having him present there and having him chime in every once in a while has been really, really special. And then he's also been taking part in the program that they have where they record themselves reading a storybook, and then they send the book to their kids with the little recording. And that has been really, really special. My kids love that. They love to watch Daddy read books and flip pages with them. And so that's been a really neat way for them to connect.
I love that. Is that something through the Army, or is that a certain company that's doing that?
I would have to go look at the box, but I think it's like a nonprofit organization that helps the Army out. Maybe a USO activity, or.
I'll have to have you look that up, and then we'll put the company's name in the show notes so people can look that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if you're curious about that, check out the show notes, and we'll, by the time we publish, we'll have that put in. Okay. So one thing that probably none of these listeners will know is that Brittany and her little girl do cooking shows, and you guys have to go check them out. It's on YouTube, and it's Nummy Tummies, right?
Nummy Tummies, yep.
You have to check them out. So tell us more about that. I came across this because I saw it on your Facebook group. She had her daughter make kale chips, and it is just ridiculously cute. So tell us more about that. How did you come up with that?
Well, my little girl, ever since she came out of the womb, has loved food more than anything else in this world. So we spend a lot of time in the kitchen together, and she loves to help me cook, and we love to eat really healthy in our family. And so I have one of those nerdy mom sides to me that feeds my kids kale chips, and we're sitting in church with carrot sticks. And so I just thought it would be a fun way to get to show people how we like to eat healthy. And my daughter loves helping make the movies with me. So it's just a fun way to combine a lot of different things in my life, like cooking and videography and my kids, and put it into a fun little activity that we can do together.
I love it. And you guys have to watch this. She legit loves to eat kale chips. She's just munching on it. And I think she even takes it, which is just awesome. I know we eat relatively healthy. We're not on any far spectrum. I like kale, but I also really like cookie dough. But I don't know if I could get my kids. I thought I fed my kids well, and they had some good habits, which they do. But then I'm watching your little girl eat kale, and it's like, oh, I couldn't even get my husband to eat kale.
My favorite thing is, as we're going along making the videos, she just loves to taste it. So she's just like, Mom, can I just eat this fresh kale right now? Or she'll just take a hunk out of the cauliflower and just chew on it. So hopefully we can inspire some mommies and little kids that it's fun to eat healthy, and there's good alternatives out there.
It's totally true. And I think it probably makes it a lot more fun for her and easier for her because she's cooking it with you. And it's like a fun connection with doing something with her
mom.
Absolutely.
It becomes a project and an activity. And so even if something is maybe not the most delicious, she helped me make it. And so she's a lot more willing to try it.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's like a stroke of genius. So props to you. And now I know how to make kale chips because I keep on hearing about them, but I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna. I don't know. I just didn't want to do the effort, but now I can't get one upped by a 3-year-old.
Yeah, I know. So if a 3-year-old can do it, anybody can do it.
Yep, pretty much. I think it's great. Okay, so you guys are in Alaska. So tell me how you've embraced that duty station and living there.
All right. So Alaska is the last frontier, and it is wild here. And it is very fun, and it has some beautiful adventures. But you have to be willing to go out of your comfort zone and go out in the wild and experience it. And just like anywhere else, you can stay cooped up in your home and you can just stay in your neighborhood and you wouldn't really get to see what it's all about. So leaving your comfort zone and being willing to go hike in the mountains even when there's bears, or go paddle out in the ocean even though there's whales, and just taking the initiative to get out in the wild and bundle your kids up in the wintertime even when it's freezing cold, and make great friends out in the wild. And one of the hardest things about the living in Alaska is that our winters are cold and they are dark and they are really long. And so you really have to put yourself out there and make friends and stay connected and find things through the winters that can keep you going. So I joined a pickleball group, and that's been really fun. And finding play dates with friends has been a really good thing to get the kids out of the house and make good friends. And just kind of any kind of military station where you have to just stay connected. It's like tennis, but indoors. It's really fun. I go play with the old ladies at church, and they kick my butt.
That's awesome. That's awesome. The solution to Alaska darkness: pickleball. Got it. Good to know. I will have to remember that one if we're ever stationed in Alaska.
I mean, it's kind of a worldwide thing now. It's picking up speed. I'd never heard of it until I got here, and now it's like a really big deal.
It's so funny. You learn more about what's happening everywhere else when you go to Alaska. Who would have known? So I love that, though. I have a few friends who've also been stationed in Alaska, and they always get so nervous because of the long winters and just the darkness and all of that kind of stuff. But I love that you guys have embraced the adventure of Alaska. And I think that, and I love that you said, that you know, no matter where you are, there's going to be adventure. But I think especially in Alaska, there's so much nature and beauty there.
Yeah, it's a really unique, fun place to be, but you have to get out and find it. It's not just going to come knocking on your door.
Yeah. So what if someone is in Alaska, what's the best place for them to find the adventure? Are there like good websites, or what's the best resource?
Oh man. I mean, it's one of the top vacation places in the world, but I have my personal favorite spots.
What are those? Share those.
So I love Girdwood, Alaska. It's our ski town, and it's right off the coast of the Cook Inlet, and it has incredible waterfalls and hikes and rivers. And so that is one of my personal favorites. And then Homer, Alaska is this really fun town. It's kind of a hippie little spot. And if you take a boat out in the water and go skip across, you can find these really cute little towns that have beautiful beaches and waterfalls. And those are some of my favorite little spots. And there's whitewater rafting on 6 Mile Creek and waterfall hikes and lakes to go kayaking on all over the place. So, I mean, just endless opportunities. Yeah, if you guys have an opportunity to be stationed here, it really is a fun one.
That's awesome. Okay, so last and final question that we can end with that I love asking everybody. What is your key to thriving that you want to share with waiting warriors?
My key to thriving. I used to think of time away from my husband as just killing time and just trying to pass the time. And so I have found that my way to survive is that instead of killing time, I'm using that time wisely. And I find things that I personally get excited about, and setting goals and learning new skills and achieving new things has really been a huge part of my survival, where I wake up and I have something to look forward to, whether it's a project, whether I'm like building a piece of furniture or learning a skill on the internet or making a Nummy Tummies video with my daughter, but something that is for me that I love to do, that will get me out of bed and that will motivate me to clean my house and get all my chores done so that I can do that fun thing in my life or learn that new skill. So just learning how to grow and stretch so you're racing the clock instead of just trying to kill the time.
I think, how much can I possibly get done before?
How much can I learn before my husband comes home?
Yes, I love it. That's what I am all about. That's the exact reason why I started this podcast, why I started this community, because I realized the really, really hard way that while we need to wait for our husbands and loved ones, and while we need to be here when they get home or when they need us, that does not mean we should be sitting on our hands. That is a totally miserable way of living life. But when we can make something of that time instead of dreading that time and turn it into a positive, then beautiful things happen. And I love that you said that.
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%. I've spent time where my husband's away just like watching TV shows and making it through several seasons. And then by the time they come home, it just feels very deflating. Like, wow, all I did while you were gone was watch Gilmore Girls 2 times. Like, not a
which is an awesome show. And there is a time
right,
for that.
but just not a whole lot to show for those 4 months of your life. And so you just feel so much more accomplished and so much happier when you can have something to show for that time.
Right. Especially, like, we shouldn't compare it, but I especially have a hard time with how productive they are in the military, or I'm sure even law enforcement and first responders. Like, man, our loved ones are out either just working and doing a ton during the day, or they are helping people and serving our country and serving the community. And I sat and watched Netflix. And I think there's a time and a place for that, where if it is kind of intentional and, is a positive thing of, it's fun sometimes, but when it's just the fallback because you don't feel like there's anything better to be doing. And I think that's when, at least for me, like, I get just a serious negative feeling and depressed almost when I do that. So, yeah. But I just think we can still be using our time so productively, even though a big part of us is
Absolutely.
gone.
And sometimes it's a hard thing to accept because in a marriage, you want to say things like, I need you and I can't survive without you and I can't do this without you. But you kind of got to bite the bullet just a little bit and decide, I love you so much, but I can do this without you here with me physically. And I can take ownership of this home and of our kids, and I can have a positive life even when you're physically not here with me. And I need you and I love you, but I can do this.
Exactly. Thank you for putting it into words, because, you're right. We are strong couples, and I think we're stronger together, but we have to be contributing factors to that strength. And just imagine how much better our marriage can be, or better we can be as a couple when we have more to offer. And
Absolutely.
I could go.
And after our time apart, if we can come together as a couple and we were both stronger than when we left, how beautiful could that be than coming together and feeling like you both digressed?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, guys, I hope this is helpful to people. And I don't mean any of this. I hope nobody feels like, oh, darn it, I've just been spending the last 2 months watching Netflix. Like, don't feel bad, and don't feel like you have to go start a brand new company right away. But realize, like, find something that you enjoy and gives you a sense of accomplishment. And again, there's time for Netflix, there's time for shows and entertainment, but there is something very real with being productive and accomplishing things and developing talents and happiness. Like, they are so interconnected. So thank you, Brittany, for bringing all that up. I love your key to thriving. So again, guys, look up Nummy Tummies on YouTube, and we'll put in the show notes. I'll probably have a link to their YouTube channel because you guys have got to just go and watch this little girl cook away. But again, thank you, Brittany, so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I enjoyed getting to be a part of this with you.
Okay. Well, thanks, everybody, and we will talk to you the next episode. Hey, everyone, I have a favor to ask. If you have enjoyed this podcast, can you leave a review and subscribe? I promise it just takes a second, and that will help more people find this podcast. Also, I'd love for you to join us in our Facebook group. Just go to facebook.com/thewaitingwarrior, click groups, and then The Waiting Warriors. Until next time, have an awesome day.